Welcome to another episode of Left Off the Map. Peaches and cream is one of those flavours that everyone knows and most people love. It's so well known and so loved that there have been lollies, ice creams, different types of confectionery made out of this flavour profile. So I'm going to do a twist on peaches and cream. I'm using a natural yogurt instead of cream, and I'm going to give some texture through some brioche. First thing I need to do is probably prep my brioche, to be honest. So I want to get that in the oven and start roasting it. So I want croutons, brioche croutons. So cut my brioche into sort of 1 centimetre dice. And then we're going to pop that into my fry pan with a little bit of butter and just toss it around so it's well covered. And then I can pop it into the oven and roast it so it gets nice and golden and we've got some texture through our dish. Knob of butter. I just want to allow that to melt, then I'll put my brioche in, toss it around so everything's nicely coated. Our butter's melted, toss my brioche in. Swirl. And that will soak up a lot of that butter. Put 1 more knob of butter on top. And then into our oven. 180 degrees for about 25 minutes, and they'll be nice and golden brown. They'll add our texture to our peaches and cream. All right, back to our peach. Take out my pip. My stone, turn that off. Into wedges again. That's our white peach done. Then I've got 2 types of sugar. I've got the muscovado sugar and some white sugar. Pop that on top with a pinch of salt, and then that'll go into the oven as well, just to roast those peaches, intensify the flavour. We won't need long, about half an hour, so a little bit longer than our brioche. And then that will come out. So it's good to have a little paring knife for this sort of thing when you're taking your stone out. Okay. Dark sugar. A little bit of normal sugar. Knob of butter. So about, like I said, 25 minutes to half an hour for our brioche to become nice and golden and crunchy, and then probably 10 minutes longer after that for our peaches to caramelise, for the sugar to melt, for the butter to melt, start to make a little bit of a syrup, and then that can come out as well. My croutons have been out for about 10 minutes, and as they cool, they'll dry out even more and become really nice and really crunchy and also buttery. So they've got the butter that's in the brioche, but also that little bit of butter that we've coated them in and then roasted them. So they're little jewels of golden, buttery, crunchy brownness, which is fantastic. They're ready to go. So my peaches can come out. Now with my peaches, I didn't want to cook them, or I didn't want to overcook them. So I still want them to have a little bit of texture. So I'm not roasting them until they start to fall apart. They're still nice and firm. They've still got some good texture, but they've just intensified in flavour a little bit and started to take on a little bit of that caramelisation. So that's really all I want. I'm going to allow them to sit and cool for 10 to 15 minutes, just so they're not going in mixing with our yogurt super hot, which will split our yogurt. So allow that to cool. My croutons are still cooling, and then we can bring everything together. My peaches have cooled enough. Everything's ready to go now. The last flavour profile I want to add is a little bit of mint. I'm just going to pick some from the garden. So I'll take a few leaves off and I'm just going to cut this into little ribbons, a chiffon. So layer the leaves on top of each other. Fold it over. Grab some peach pieces. And some of our yogurt. Just dollop that on top. Some more peach. And a little bit of mint. Another dollop of our yogurt. You see how soft that curd is? Bits of brioche, croutons. Just build this up in layers. And there we go, peaches and cream. A little bit of a different take on peaches and cream. Getting rid of the cream component and going with something that's nice and light and gentle in that soft set yogurt. It's a great way to, I think, take a classic flavour profile and just give it a little twist to make it interesting. That's my peaches and cream done. We're going to head off and catch up with Henry Terry now, who's down south at one of my favourite hotels in all of Tasmania, the Henry Jones Art Hotel.
Kate, thanks so much for having me at the Henry Jones Art Hotel. Tell me, what makes an art hotel? I mean, it sounds like art.
Absolutely. I guess what's unique about this hotel is that we really focus on supporting emerging Tasmanian artists. So it gives them a platform to exhibit their work, and it gives visitors to Tasmania and even local Tasmanians an opportunity to experience wonderful Tasmanian art from various mediums while they're enjoying the pleasures of a hotel.
So all the art here is done by Tasmanians?
Absolutely. It's all Tasmanian artists. Most of the art is produced by emerging Tasmanian artists, so they're early in their career. But then we do have also some well-established artists that we also include in the exhibits.
Very cool. And, I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. I mean, Exhibit A, tell me about this piece.
Well, this is a piece by Lindsay Broughton, and he is actually a very established artist in Tasmania. He was commissioned to produce this piece with the concept of representing a connection to place. So Henry Jones Hotel is on a very small little island. So originally Hunter Street was a small island, and that was a place where the Palawa women would have gathered their shellfish, abalone, mussels, oysters. It was an integral cultural part of their life and cultural practice. And these baskets are the type of baskets that they would have used. So it's a very significant piece to have in the entry to the hotel, and with that connection to place, connection to country, and acknowledging and honouring the Palawa people. Lindsay Broughton was the head of drawing for 25 years at the Tasmanian Art School, and he's a very respected, established Tasmanian artist.
You offer art tours of the hotel as a part of the experience for guests?
Yes, absolutely. We invite guests to join us on an art tour, and then they are introduced to the various pieces, and it really gives them a hands-on experience, an opportunity to have a dialogue about art, even if they're not experienced.
I'm one of those guys, definitely not experienced with the art. Would you show me around?
Absolutely. I'd love to show you and share some of Tasmania's wonderful emerging artists.
Awesome.
This is the wonderful history room, Henry.
This is the history room.
Yes, and here we've got another Lindsay Broughton. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's actually a drawing. A lot of people are usually quite amazed. As I said, he was the head of drawing for 25 years at the art school, and he's produced this work in honour of the thriving fruit industry that was also supported by the boating industry. So when Tasmania moved beyond from being just a penal colony, a lot of farms were established down in the Huon Valley, and all of that produce was transported to this lovely area of Salamanca, the cove here, via boat. So this is actually from the Natal Queen. It's the bell of the Natal Queen, and this particular ship became shipwrecked down at Adventure Bay.
Right.
When it was transporting timber to Adelaide. So Tasmania really did provide a lot of resources once it became established to the mainland, and the shipping industry was very important. This bell was salvaged and it's now in the Maritime Museum. So Lindsay also produced this work to acknowledge that important aspect of this particular area.
Yeah, beautiful. Kate, moving from history, do you have some more?
Oh, I've got some fabulous Tasmanian artists, especially our emerging artists.
Cool, lead the way. Tell me about this one, Kate.
This is a beautiful work by Sebastian Galloway. He just won the Glover Award, 2021 Glover Award. This isn't the actual piece, but he's a wonderfully accomplished painter. This is a photorealism style. This here is one of our native Tasmanian hens. It's also known as the turbo chook.
All right. I'm very familiar with the turbo chook.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen them this close with humans?
No, I have not.
So I think it's quite a significant piece where Sebastian is making this reference to this intimate relationship between the turbo chook, which races at great miles, and somebody that's passing through the natural environment.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. I would never put two and two together, actually. Yeah. This place is unbelievable. It's a labyrinth of just pieces all through the hallways, and there's something new around every corner, isn't
Absolutely. You can get lost in here and amongst wonderful art and magnificent history.
Well, I wasn't expecting this, Kate. Walking up the hallway, these paintings are very familiar, and this artist I am actually good mates with.
Oh.
So maybe tread carefully, but tell me about this artwork.
Well, this is the work of Josh Andre, and Josh won the Packing Room Award in our last Henry Jones Art Prize in 2019.
He kept that very quiet.
He seems to be doing well for himself now. After winning that award, he actually has signed with the Despard Gallery. So that's a good example of how the Henry Jones supports emerging artists to raise their profile and move to the next stage of selling their work.
Phenomenal. It's such a typical story, like for me being a Tasmanian coming here and seeing his work. When I catch up with Josh, we're talking about sport and I never hear about his art, really. And I know he's very passionate, but he's also very modest, and I didn't know he'd won that award. So
he is indeed. He's quite humble, and I think what I really like about Josh is that he says, you know, I'm not a photographer, I'm a painter, and I want people to understand that this is just an impression of how I see things. It isn't as it actually is. And yeah, I really enjoyed that perspective that he gives as an artist.
Yeah, amazing.
Beautiful work.
Thank you so much for showing me around.
Pleasure.
I might head down the hallway and keep checking out some of Josh's wares.
Have a wonderful art adventure.
Yeah, thanks for your tour.
Now, we'll admit I've stayed at that hotel many, many, many times, and it is absolutely phenomenal. So thanks, Henry, for checking out one of my favourite hotels in Hobart. All right, moving on with today's recipes. Red wine poached pears is something that I think looks really elegant, looks absolutely beautiful, and people think it's a lot harder than it is. So I'm going to show you how to do a red wine poached pear. Normally you use a Bosc pear, but I've got packing pears. Now, the one tip I will give you is when you're peeling your pear, it's important to take your time and do it properly, because the lines that you create in the pear are going to really show up when you poach it. So peeling the skin, try and get it in one full motion from top to bottom. Imperfections you create in the flesh are really going to show up. The bottom, you want to kind of peel the bottom so that you get a nice flat bottom so it will stand up beautifully. Now I'll start to put together the poaching liquor. So red wine is the base of your poaching liquid, and you want to get a nice dark red wine, so something like a Shiraz, Cabernet. So red wine, and then you need enough red wine to be able to cover your pears. So if you need to top it up with a little bit of water, so there's 750 mils of red wine in there, so a bottle of red wine, a little bit of water, just to make sure that we cover our pear. Now we're going to add the other flavours to go with that red wine. So I've got 3 star anise, pop those in, 3 cloves, you can either use a cinnamon quill or a teaspoon of cinnamon. So nice spices that you know are going to go well with a heavy red wine. And for sweetness, we've got a little bit of sugar, about 1.5 tablespoons of raw sugar, and then the same amount of honey. Tablespoon and a half. That was probably 2 tablespoons, but I like honey. And it's good quality honey. I'm going to slowly start to bring some heat into that. And basically you're making a mulled wine. So a warm, spiced wine. All right, so let's see if my pear is covered. Keep rolling your pears over. That'll tick away if you're using a little paring knife, till a paring knife goes in and comes out so it's nice and tender. My pears are about done. I've reduced that wine mixture down by probably half. So I'm going to take my pears out now and just pop them in a bowl. There's a lot of a scum that's sort of come off the spices that are in there, the wine. So I want to strain that. So I've got some chucks cloth over at the top of a strainer or a sieve. I'm just going to pass a wine mixture through that chucks and through that sieve into another pot. And then you'll see we get a really clear, clean poaching liquor that we can reduce down now. Now I can pop my pears back in. I only need them to be back in there for probably 2 minutes, and I'm just going to nappe them. So with a spoon, to spoon some of that clean, clear basting liquor over the top. Let that bubble away for 2 more minutes, then I'll take those pears back out again, reduce that poaching liquor right down till it starts to become the flavours that I want. So that deep red, cherry, chocolate sort of flavour from the red wine, and it becomes a little bit sweeter and you can taste the honey. Reduce that down, and then I'll use that again to nappe over the top of our pears to make them a little bit darker in colour and to have that sort of syrupy red wine mixture stick to the pear itself. So I'll give these, turn them back on, give these another couple of minutes, then take them out and then reduce that poaching liquor down to become our sauce for the dessert. My poaching liquor has reduced right down, it's nice and syrupy, and as that cools it'll get even more syrupy. Our pear, place in the middle of our bowl. I'm going to pour our our sauce, our finishing sauce in here. And then just make sure I've got everything covered. That finishing sauce. Done. So that is our glossy red wine poached pear. We've reduced that poaching liquor down so it's nice and sweet and sticky and syrupy. It has all those flavours. It's absolutely phenomenally beautiful. Perfect dessert and perfect poached pear. We'll see you next time on Left Off the Map. I hope you've enjoyed today and give this one a try. You'll love it.